but you gotta get it back in there and zip, all right? All right, so we're talking about packing. You can pack any of those wounds too. All right, so we have pressure we can use, then we can go to packing.
So with those wounds in the middle one, those are probably where more of the femoral or the big arteries are, right? Especially that femoral artery in the groin area. Tourniquet probably not going to work because it's up high, right? You'd have to go around the waist because that's where the blood's coming from.
Yeah.
So that pressure, I mean, that's going to be a long time to try to stop that, and you're going to be holding that until that EMS shows up.
But if you get it just right, like on that artery, you know, I've seen it on TV, they like go in and, but literally you can do that. If you can get a hold of it, I imagine it's all slippery in there with all the blood and stuff, but I mean, if you got something to just hold that artery and the bleeding stops, you hang on there. But yeah, that's a great spot for those. I was gonna say here, this would be really hard to pack, right? So that's not the kind of wound you really want to pack. I've been asked before too, should I take a pencil and try to, and I'm like, no, don't create more trauma injury to those tissues. This is an interesting, too, this is like a through and through demonstration, so it's smaller here, and as that force comes out the tissues, it's bigger on the other side. All right, what's next? Yay, tourniquets. So tourniquets fell out of favor, and the reason was they were used inappropriately. So we're going to talk about the appropriate ways to use a tourniquet. So you have to have an extremity wound, leg or arm. I'm going to demonstrate my arm just because it's easiest. They come kind of all buckled up and ready, so you can just loosen it. So however, you know, you gotta get on my thigh or whatever. You can also unbuckle it. This one is another type you might see, and it's all Velcro, which means it sticks together. But with this one, it just slides in there. You're not gonna get it undone because we've used it about 1,000,000 times, but I can apply a tourniquet to myself. So a good key is to get that as tight as you can right away. And you want to go 2 to 3 inches above the wound, and don't place over elbow or knee because you can't compress those joints enough. You want to get like a meaty spot where you can really cinch it down. And you are going to tighten this thing until the bleeding stops, okay? It's very painful. People will scream if they're conscious and say, stop, 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 that hurts. So you gotta say, this is gonna, sorry, I don't have both. This is gonna save your life. So you get it as tight as you can initially, and then this thing, it's called the windlass rod, but you would turn that until the bleeding stops, tuck it in here, do that. Your kit didn't have a little marker in it. Someone must have stole it. And there's these cute little markers, because we want to know the time. We want to know what, we want to know what time this was applied, because we have roughly 2 hours to get this off, or at least get blood flow going again, before we risk losing more of the limb because of ischemia. You do not remove the tourniquet, so once it's on, it stays on. And it only gets taken off by the person who's going to surgically fix it. So I tell my nurses, you leave that tourniquet on until the surgeon comes in. Let's see. You can put it on yourself or others. Our law enforcement personnel carry 2 tourniquets typically. One for them and one for their partner. And you can apply it yourself. You can apply over clothing. And then if this doesn't stop the bleeding, you could consider putting another one higher up. And sometimes we've had to do that in the hospital. Got a little video. do this to yourself, or if you have a willing partner, maybe pick someone you don't like so you can wind it up a little extra tight. So the reason I said tourniquets fell out of favor is that people left them on too long, and then they would lose their limbs and stuff, or they were put on inappropriately. So we've done a lot of training in our communities. Right now, all the EMS services carry these. We have them in the hospitals. I mean, law enforcement has them. They're everywhere. Again, because they save lives, right? I know that saved that lady's life I was talking about earlier with the dog bites. I mean, and that's because, too, you might start with pressure. You might pack it a little bit. If that fails, then you go to a tourniquet. If you have extensive bleeding, and don't be afraid to just go right to the tourniquet, too. Now, if I see a paper cut coming into the ER with the tourniquet on, I might get a little mad at you guys. But, you know, if you have that real bleeding we're talking about, you're saving someone's life. There's a bunch of different brands out there. I do not endorse any single one, except for the ones on Amazon that are crap. Don't get those anymore.
I've noticed in some of the recreational vehicles, they're starting to
Yes.
apply or supply first aid kits,
Yeah.
and they all have tourniquets in those. The
Yes.
snowmobile industry, the ATV, quad stuff, they're starting to give those as an option that, hey, you know, we can throw this in, or you can purchase this first aid kit.
I love it. Do it. Because even you, like just coming upon someone else, right? Not even just to save yourself or your family, but someone else will be, you know, something you'll never regret in your life. So with children, someone asked the question about, well, we'll start with tourniquets. You can use these tourniquets at this point, unless something's changed in the last year. There are none around just for pediatrics. So I can get this really, really going, which there's no place to Velcro, you know, about that small of an arm. This one has a big plastic piece in here. So I had two, the twins were probably in 2nd grade when I was trying to cinch it on them, and they were too small. You know, I couldn't get it to work. So there is a limit to who tourniquets can work for. You know, teeny babies, you're not gonna get that to work. But we have options of pressure and packing that you can do with children as well. I was gonna see how small I picked this one. Yeah, that one you can only get that small. Might not fit some of you in this room. But then too, you can try to go higher. I mean, if it's not working here, go higher. So what do I do if there's an impaled object? What do you do then? I can't apply pressure on that. Do you take it out? No. Because that's doing a good job there, blocking off that garden hole with vessel, right? So for this one, I got stuff all over here, sorry. This one you want to stabilize an impaled object. So maybe I do that and I hold it. And you tell the person, don't take it out. And as soon as you say, don't take it out, it's like they're confused and they're like, oh, I'll take that out. A guy had stabbed himself in the chest, and law enforcement was like, don't take it out, don't take it out. And he took it out and died. I won't laugh, but don't take it out. Well, like I said, they're confused. You guys can untangle this a bit. As far as improvised tourniquets, you know, we teach these because they work. Now, Boston Marathon, a lot of bombing there. Because of that bombing, a lot of extremity trauma. We use belts and stuff. You use what you can if you don't have anything. You could also like tie a sheet really tight, or a t-shirt potentially. Try not to use anything super small, like a shoelace, or really small things that could actually cut the skin, and then you cut. So don't do that. Loss of an arm or leg, we kind of talked about that with keeping them on too long or using them inappropriately. It's painful, definitely, and not pleasant. What questions do you guys have? I think that's the end of this part. This thing is interesting.
Must be nice.
Must be my last slide. Well, coming up, I know there's a lot of you just kind of spaced out a little bit, but everybody get their hands on a tourniquet, practice doing some
There's some
packing.
more over here as well.
Yep.
And you're all practicing on it. What's my bush here?
Come on, Road.
Get them.
Give it away. I think one of these.
One fire.
We don't bring them. Honestly, I'm not pregnant by 15 and I think she's happy. Are you 16? Yeah. She's happy.
You should probably put
You don't want to do this. I don't know how to do it. Okay. So, do you want this one?
Try it.
So you guys will just what are you?
Girls?
Do we have time for practice before we do it? I didn't have it there. No. I got it. We should just like practice it before this. I'm doing the CPR and the we know. I'm not doing it. The dude who fell off the tree. I'm doing the dude who got landed on.
Here, girls, give it a try.
CPR, split. Stomach really hurts. I look like the type of skateboard. Yeah, I don't think you drive. Oh no, am I? That's embarrassing. Down, down, down. Good.
I zoom in already.
Anyone else? Should I just zoom in on random people? Yeah. Not you. How about you? Good. You? I'll do it to cause.
No.
Wait, you're playing it. Try to get that.
Imagine giving back to it.